Titans Thursday here on the show. We've got a good topic we've got planned for you guys today is the top 5 Titans who can take over a game and dominate the game, any game really. So we'll run through these. You see Derrick Henry on your screen. I think everybody kind of agrees with what Derrick Henry is to this Titans team and what his abilities are to completely control a game by himself. So we'll discuss the top 5 Titans who have the most power to take over an individual game this season. I've got my list of 5. Zach's got his. I'm sure we're going to disagree in the order of who we have here. We'll ask you guys your opinion on this discussion as well. Then you've got he's back. Quote, the boy is back. That is what Phil Yates tweeted yesterday when Will Compton and the Titans looked like they're going to agree to terms. It's not like officially official yet from the Tennessee Titans, but Will Compton coming back to the team. We'll discuss an interesting question around that. And then, Zach, it is the Magic Bucket today, which means we are going to get embarrassed at the end of the show, the BioPure Music City Magic Bucket. We were at BioPure Music City yesterday, so we're going to have some fun with the Magic Bucket. And I have a surprise with the Magic Bucket today.
Do you have a sticker with the Magic Bucket?
Yeah, it's my week. It's my week. And
I was just asking. I was just asking.
That's fine. You can just ask, and I'll just answer. No problem.
So we are going to have a great show. As Austin just kind of reviewed what we're going to be talking about. A lot of opinions. I'm curious to see Austin's list. I'm curious to see your list out there because we know Derrick Henry is numero uno. We'll talk about that. And we'll talk about where else everybody else lines up in takeover, right? This is a Titans takeover Thursday right here. Before we get going, though, bottom right corner of your screen, if you are watching on Twitter/Periscope, you'll see those 3 little dots. You can share the broadcast that way. We need to pop up in your Twitter followers timeline, so retweet the broadcast. That would help us out a great deal. Also, on Facebook, what's going on, Facebookers? More people will pile in over the next 5 to 10 minutes, and as you do, please share the show, share the broadcast. Bottom left corner of your screen, share now to public. That is share now to public. Sharing is caring. People will start to pile in, and as they do, please share the show.
Yep, let's get it going officially. Welcome into A to Z Sports. I'm Austin Stanley. He is Zach Bingham. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at A to Z Sports. Like our Facebook page at A to Z Sports Nashville. We are Nashville's on-demand sports talk network, and we go live every weekday morning at 8 Central Time. Got to thank our sponsors because they make it all happen for our show, for our business, and for you guys. RentersWarehouse.com, the professional landlords in the Nashville area. RentersWarehouse.com is where to go to find out how much your home can rent for. Mandu, the pulse of fitness. 1 15-minute workout equals 5 hours in the weight room. Mandu.com, your first workout is free. The Tucker Agency, saving you relief by saving you money on your personal insurance. Nashville's independent insurance agency at tuckertn.com. Calvin and Subtle for your new hardwood floors and finishings. CalvinandSubtle.com is where to go in the mid-state. And the Bone and Joint Institute of Tennessee, boneandjointtn.org, the region's destination for comprehensive and orthopedic and sports medicine care, boneandjointtn.org. So, Zach, before we dive into this, we do want to acknowledge what's happening around the country in pro sports with what happened in the NBA, the WNBA, Major League Soccer, what's happening this morning with the NFL as the Indianapolis Colts have canceled practice. The Titans are scheduled to practice on the football field later today around 10:50. Buck Rising had a great show last night talking about how all has happened, starting with the Milwaukee Bucks. So wanted to put that out there at the beginning of the show today. Probably tomorrow, maybe tomorrow, we can have a discussion about what the reaction is on this Thursday from what happened in the NBA and what's going on in our world around us. So, but it is a Titans Thursday today. So I did want to acknowledge that out of the gates because I feel like that's only fair.
Yeah, and I expect the teams that didn't play yesterday and the teams that are scheduled to play today, that they won't play as well, right, to show what they want to do for the movement and what has happened. We'll probably touch on that. I would expect more NFL teams to do that as well. I'm curious to see what hockey decides too, because they're a part of the major professional sports, what their decision is. Major League Baseball has taken its stance. Mm-hmm. And I think we all can understand that the United States and really the world is not right and hasn't been right for a while. And this is just another thing to add to the list of 2020 of trying to make change.
Sure. So also, before we move on to our topic today, stay tuned. Follow us on Twitter at A to Z Sports, on Facebook and Instagram for updates on what happens with the Tennessee Titans moving forward today. But Zach, we have the 5 Titans who have the most power to take over a game in the 2020 season. Derrick Henry's obvious, right? I think we both have Derrick Henry at number 1 on this list. So we're going to start at number 1, and we're going to go through up to 5 of the 5 Titans who have the most power to just absolutely dominate and take over a game that could help the Titans win single-handedly. You can't disagree with Henry being number 1 here.
No, the King is 1. He's done it numerous times. That's the reason why he led the NFL in rushing. And look, we've had our fair share of discussions on Derrick Henry, what he was the beginning of his career, what he could be, and now what he is. Some have seen the light and have seen the crown, as they say.
Well, Derrick Henry has also
as he has
grown as
moved
a
into
running
the
back.
upper echelon, as predicted by myself. And yeah, Derrick Henry's number 1 because and I think the key word to this discussion, Austin, is takeover, right? It's not really good or overall. It is takeover. Can you take a stranglehold over a game? I like to call them game wreckers. J.J. Watt is a game wrecker. Khalil Mack is a game wrecker. Patrick Mahomes is a game wrecker. Derrick Henry is a game wrecker. Now, there's not a lot of game wreckers on everybody's team, right? I mean, that's you got to try to stack those up. I think your boy, who I don't think is ranked correctly in your list, but Tyreek Hill is a game wrecker, right?
Yeah, sure. He has the ability to take over a game more than a lot of wide receivers just because of his pure speed.
Yeah, so talking about the Titans, they're set up differently than I think other traditional football teams that are very pass heavy. The Titans want to run the football, control the clock, and play good defense. I mean, that's the Mike Vrabel. That's what they have on their team. Now, the one thing that they have gotten is Ryan Tannehill, and that's an improvement at quarterback, at least last season, that they've had since Steve McNair. Let's talk about productivity. Let's talk about how far they've gone in the playoffs. Ryan Tannehill was a saving grace last year. Can he follow that up? I'm also curious to see where everybody else stacks up, where the defensive players stack up on your list. I have my list. You have yours.
Yeah, so here's what we do. Everybody knows that Derrick Henry's number 1. So we want to ask you guys, and several of you guys already in the comment section have already offered up who you think number 2 is. So who is your number 2? And Josh asked a good question. Can an offensive lineman take over? I mean, sure. You absolutely, an offensive lineman could take over. So we're going to talk about a bunch of these names. So who is number 2? Because Zach, you asked me, you're curious about where the defensive players rank in my list. And Zach, I've got Kevin Byard at number 2.
Oh, God, no.
Yes, absolutely. And I was thinking about this kind of Kevin Byard is actually what led me to creating this topic, because I was thinking about this earlier in the week, like a Sunday or a Monday. And I'm like, we kind of take for granted of how good Kevin Byard is, like, because we're used to it. Like I'm numb to Kevin Byard being as elite as he is. And because of the position that he plays, he is an eraser. And he can absolutely take over and change the game without it showing up in a stat sheet, because of the ability of him to cover as much ground as he possibly can in coverage. He's had
That's like an offensive lineman, though. Like, he doesn't show up in the stat sheet, but he's not going to be on this list.
They can absolutely take over a game.
He's way too high on this.
No, I think Kevin Byard, because of what he is as a free safety and how he plays all over the field and how impactful an interception is in the game. And when you look at the games that Kevin Byard has had interceptions, the majority of the time the Titans are winning those games. And he had a couple of years ago, he had 4 multi-interception games, and the Titans won all of those because Kevin Byard helped keep them afloat. The only way the Titans scored a touchdown in the game against the Buffalo Bills last year is because Kevin Byard had an interception and ran it back into field goal range where they were able to get a touchdown where they couldn't do anything else outside of that. Kevin Byard, I think, has the ability because of his intelligence, his physical and athletic ability, and the way he can make game-changing plays and how he can take away a couple of the opponent's players. I think Kevin Byard's number 2 on my list.
That's a bad list already, unfortunately.
No, it's not.
It is, because it's takeover, right?
Yes.
Like you've missed the point. Defensive players' opportunity just doesn't occur as much as offensive players.
It does.
Not
to the fans' naked eyes, Zach. That's the thing, is Kevin Byard can absolutely control a game with how he controls the middle of the field every snap. He can dictate and take away from something the offense wants to do every snap. Every snap. Every play, they have to know where is 31 and how can we make sure 31 does not wreck this play. And he can even wreck a play by having the quarterback check down. If a quarterback checks down to a running back or tight end and the guy's tackled for a 3 or 4 yard gain, Kevin Byard could have made that play. And so for the fans' naked eye, we can't see that as much, and I'm including myself in that. We can't see that as much because we're watching the TV broadcast, where I bet if you show up in that facility, maybe when the next time we can walk in there and you say, hey, can we go through film, have Coach McGinnis take us through every play that Kevin Byard altered by basically not ending up in the result of that play, I think we'd all be surprised of how much of an impact he really has just by being out there on the field.
I disagree. Kevin Byard's on my list. He sure as hell's not 2. He's a defensive safety. He shouldn't be. You have to go to a guy, and let's make logical sense about takeover. Go with the guy who touches the ball the most. It's Ryan Tannehill. That's the takeover guy. It's the quarterback. And look, some quarterbacks are good, some quarterbacks are bad, right? I don't think David Carr, not Derek, but David Carr could take over a game even though he was a quarterback, or Jamarcus Russell. But Ryan Tannehill showed last year he has the ability to take over a game because he touches the rock. Kevin Byard affects the game. But I think that's where you got it misconstrued. Effects and takeovers are 2 different things. Kevin Byard's not even 3 on my list. But Ryan Tannehill has to be 2. Derrick Henry is the king. He can take over a game. But define the takeover word. That's the key. And Tannehill did that numerous times last year. He did it not only with his arm, but with his legs. You remember that scramble run against Jacksonville, jettisoning into the end zone? Do you remember the 2-point conversion against Kansas City? I'm not talking about the touchdown pass he threw to Adam Humphries. I'm talking about that QB sneak that he got in. This is Ryan Tannehill.
All right, so
that unbelievable catch by A.J. Brown on the sidelines in Houston? Who threw that? That was a dime. The only place, credit to A.J. Brown for catching the rock, but more credit to Ryan Tannehill for throwing the damn thing.
All right, so here's what we're going to do. I've answered Kevin Byard. Zach's answered Ryan Tannehill. So we're going to ask you guys this question. After Derrick Henry, which Titan has the most power to take over a game? Who is most likely to take over a game, not including Derrick Henry? But first, let me tell you guys about Mandu. Mandu, the pulse of fitness, where one 15-minute workout simulates 5 hours plus in the weight room because of the science of full-body electronic muscle stimulation. This is changing lives, and it's changed my life. I'm down over 10% body fat from where I was a year ago with what Mandu has taught me and how healthy I am. And Zach mentioned that you had the hardest workout of your Mandu life on Tuesday. I went through this. I requested the same thing you did yesterday. And let me confirm, hard as hell. And that 15 minutes was fantastic at Mandu Green Hills. So check it out, mandu.com. Your first workout is absolutely free. It's by appointment only. So it's different than other gyms. It's really not a gym. By appointment only, so it's safe during these pandemic times. Mandu.com, your first workout's free.
Back at it at Blitz today. Plus, we've got some cool new sponsors on the horizon for this football season, right? So, and they're going to benefit you. It's going to be awesome. Okay, so we will unveil those sponsors here in the next couple of weeks. So stay tuned to those. They're all beneficial to you guys. That's one of the reasons why we sign them up, and we don't ask you for your hard-earned money. We go up and we go to get the sponsors that can help benefit you and your lifestyle. Those are on deck here in the next couple of weeks, so stay tuned for that.
All right, so the question is, after Derrick Henry, which Titans players most likely to take over a game? I said number 2 on my list is Kevin Byard. Zach goes with Ryan Tannehill.
Argue against mine because you can't, and I'd like for you to, but argue that you're going to go with the safety compared to the quarterback of the football team.
Well, because
the takeover guy.
No, look, and I think for 31 other NFL franchises, you have a point there. But for the Tennessee Titans, who run through Derrick Henry, and that's something you've talked about a lot, right? Derrick Henry is the MVP. Derrick Henry is the guy.
Well, he's won. That's why.
I know. But I think because of the focus of this offense, because Derrick Henry can take over the game and not even be carrying the football, that's because of play action. And that makes things a lot easier on Ryan Tannehill. And I don't want to discredit anything Ryan Tannehill did last year.
Well, you kind of are by putting
I'm not. Like, it's like those conversations where you try to talk about like who should be in the Hall of Fame above others, where you're trying to find holes in one Hall of Famer's career compared to another Hall of Famer's career. Look, these guys aren't Hall of Famers yet, but Ryan Tannehill, Derrick Henry, and Kevin Byard are probably 3 of the best players on the entire roster. And you can throw in some others in there too. And probably the 3 most impactful players on every snap that they're on the field. I'm going Kevin Byard above Tannehill because I think we forget, we've become numb, and we kind of got used to Kevin Byard just being so elite. Kevin Byard has had so many interceptions in training camp, and we're acting like it's just a normal thing. Like, oh, somebody threw an interception today. Who got it? Oh, Byard did. Of course he did. It's like we've become numb to how elite and how talented Kevin Byard is.
You can't. That's why the number of games that Ryan Tannehill took over last year compared to Kevin Byard. Tannehill took over more.
No.
I mean, it's true. You can admit that.
I think, and that's why I've said that to the fans' naked eye that
no, there's not naked eye. Oakland, you're fully clothed. There's no butt naked. Oakland is a takeover by Ryan Tannehill.
My point is,
one example. I can give you a lot more.
I'm not going to change my mind on this. I think Kevin Byard's number 2 because I think Kevin Byard takes over nearly every game he steps out.
Let's talk about these games, Austin. Let's not talk about what you think. We know what you think, and what you think is not correct. Let's talk about takeover games. Let's compare the two. How many takeover games did your boy Kevin Byard have last season?
I'll go to his game log. The guy had 5 interceptions in the regular season, and then he had 1 in the playoffs against Baltimore that started the onslaught.
This is important. Look, what did you do to set your team up to take over the game?
I think Kevin Byard does things every game that makes his team.
Oh, you don't think Ryan Tannehill does? I need some facts. I don't need just blanket.
But Zach, that's my point. That's my point of why we have become numb to how good Kevin Byard is, because you can't just look at a box score.
I want you to come to shake out of the numbness and tell us how many games did Kevin Byard.
That's not how this works. That's not how Kevin Byard.
I'm asking you. I'm asking you.
Okay, Kevin Byard was an absolute freak against the Texans in Week 17. He played a really good game against the Saints before that. He was great against Oakland with 8 tackles.
Takeover games. Good, great.
Zach, once again, like, you're not understanding what I'm saying. Is you can't just look at a box score with a safety.
We watch these games. So we're not looking at the box score.
Almost a year ago.
Everybody that is watching this show watch the games.
Almost a year ago, we watched these games. You're right. My point is that you can look at Tannehill's box score and immediately recollect and say, oh, I remember when he made these big plays. When you look at Kevin Byard's game log and box score, that's not how that works.
Look, he's just not 2. I'm not discrediting Kevin Byard. He's just not the takeover guy that you're saying he is.
So let's go to comments. That's what I was trying to do earlier. Let's go to comments to see who people think.
Here's 2 good ones. RCH 86. KB is consistent. He doesn't take over ball games. Scott Weaver, Byard's number 5 for me. Sorry, Austin. I agree with Zach on this one. Jay just says, "Oh my God." I don't know.
You don't know what he's saying. Oh my God! To you. It
Probably
could be
to your Kevin Byard number 2 case.
It could be to me, my Kevin Byard, or it could be for you not understanding what I'm trying to get across.
So what about Sean Gill? If KB has a bad game, they can potentially still win. If Henry or Tannehill has bad games, they likely lose that. That's a great point by Sean. So you talk about takeover. If you're not on, let's go to the opposite end of that spectrum. If you're not on, you could still win if KB has a bad game.
If the safety has a bad game, if the safety has a bad game, the
Kevin Byard has had bad games that they've still won.
You can't name those. Like, you're asking me to name the ones that he took over, and I'm saying, like, you can't name those. Like,
the ones that he didn't like. That's actually the ones that you could go to the game log where he did not show up and they still won.
Like there you go. Like when Kevin Byard only had 1 tackle against Houston and they lost by 3 points, he could have played phenomenal because he kept things from happening. And that's the weird thing about
it's not takeover, it's effect. You have them misconstrued, pal. Takeover is different than effect.
And Ethan Ramsey says, who do you ask us to grade after every game? The quarterback or the safety? Because we can't grade the damn safety immediately after the game by watching the TV broadcast, and we know what you guys can grade. You guys can make an opinion about the quarterback because it's easier to do that. So that's why grading the quarterback in the postgame show is a good segment, because the average fan and us and everybody can actually pull that off. Austin, and give us a legitimate.
No, this is not about individual. It's about position. And this is where you got it twisted.
All right, so Cody says Byard is a better safety than Tannehill is a QB. No dispute, he's a better player, but Tannehill changes a game with his legs alone more than Byard does. It's just the nature of position.
Take over.
John Arnold just says Byard is a legend.
That doesn't answer the question.
Bobby says a QB will win you the game. A safety will not lose you the game. I disagree.
Disagree.
Kevin Byard had 3 interceptions against the Browns when the Titans had to kick 4 field goals to beat the winless Browns.
Read Allen's comment.
Okay, that's fine. I'm reading a bunch of comments that disagree with me right now. Allen says, clear fact, the player with the ball in his hands in every play has the ability to take over. Therefore, it's got to be Tannehill. Wake up, Austin. That's fine. Like, I'm cool with you guys disagreeing with me. I just think Kevin Byard takes over more games than what we realize.
It's just a huge stretch. He may, but not the second on the team.
Well, what I'm doing? I want to bring more. I want to bring more awareness to what Kevin Byard's doing to wake us up.
Don't make your list bunk to do it.
I'm not making my list bunk. Look, we disagree on this. Let's move on, okay? We've had enough discussion about my thoughts about Kevin Byard. What about
this? You would rather have a quarterback take over the game than a safety. That's
I agree. I agree with that. And I said, if you talk about 31 other NFL teams who are not run through the running back, you can make that case, but the Titans are different. So here's
Tribe. How the hell is an opinion list a wrong list?
Oh, it can be.
It definitely can be. I mean, Tribe, welcome to the show. I know you watch the show, but come on.
All right, so here's what we're gonna do. So we've got the rest of our top 5. We've only gotten through each of our number 2. So we want you guys.
We had to stop at your 2.
That's fine. That's how the show is structured to go. But now let's continue to move forward.
The thing is, I believe that you believe that.
You believe that I what?
I believe that you believe that Byard is number 2, which is crazy.
I do believe that.
I know. That's crazy to me.
That's why I'm not just doing this list just because.
I know. That is the messed up thing about today's show is I know you, Austin. When you believe something, you don't.
Kevin Byard. Honestly, Kevin Byard is the reason why I created this topic. That's it. Is because obviously Derrick Henry's 1, Kevin Byard's 2. Okay, shocker. Ryan Tannehill is 3 for me. We're gonna get Zach's number 3. The top 5 players with the Titans who have the ability, the power to take over a game in 2020. But first, Zach, tell people about Calvin and Subtle.
Yeah, Calvin and Subtle is where you need to get your hardwood floors. The hardwood highlight is always, every weekend, sponsored by Calvin and Subtle. 615-448-6414. They have your new hardwood floors and finishings. We're going to be doing some cool stuff throughout the season with Calvin and Subtle. Make sure you give them a call if you need new hardwood floors. Rip up that carpet that you've been walking on all summer long. Make sure that this, moving into fall, this is a great time to go get some cost-effective hardwood floors. 615-448-6414. They come into your house. You pick out your perfect hardwood floor. And then in 1 to 2 weeks, they order the material. Then they install it. It's that simple. Your family and your house will absolutely love it, and you will too. CalvinandSuttle.com.
All right, A to Z Sports. Don't forget, until football returns, AZ30 for 30% off anything at shop.A2ZSportsNashville.com. Again, AZ30 at shop.A2ZSportsNashville.com for all of our gear, including the shirt, the polo golf shirt, Nike golf shirt that I'm wearing right now, and what Zach's wearing as well. So here's the question. We're going through the top 5 Titans. Yes, I love that shirt. The top 5 Titans who have the most power to take over a game. My number 1 and everybody's number 1 is Derrick Henry. I said Byard number 2. Zach vehemently disagrees and says Ryan Tannehill number 2. I have the quarterback Ryan Tannehill number 3. Zach, who is your number 3? I think I have an idea. I'm going to go Miss Cleo, like you like to do. And is A.J. Brown your number 3 here, Zach?
Well, it's not Kevin Byard at 3. It is A.J. Brown. Because you know what I did when I made my list?
What's that?
I took a long, hard look.
Box score Bingham.
No, I took a long, hard look at the word takeover. Okay. And I think you just you read over the word takeover.
No,
and when it comes to takeover, this is the philosophy. This makes the most sense. It's not the safety Byard at 2. It's King Henry at 1. Then the man who touches the ball the most that can take over a game. It's opportunity, right? So that's why I went Tannehill 2nd. And then it's production on the field when it comes to taking over singular games. A.J. Brown took over more singular games last year than Kevin Byard did. He has to be above Byard. Byard has a great resume. He's had a great career. He has a great contract. But singular games, when you talk about takeover, it's A.J. Brown. And you don't have to look at the box score to figure out which games he took over. He took over Week 17 in Houston. He probably needed to take over more in the playoffs, but they ran the football. That was their game plan. And then when they got behind, they couldn't do anything against the Chiefs. But he took over, honestly, he definitely took over Oakland with his $153 and 2 scores. He took over Jacksonville with Derrick Henry, the number 1 guy, 135 yards and a touchdown. Takeover. When you think takeover, Atlanta, the 2 scores he did that. He did more to take over a football game last year than Kevin Byard did. That's why he's ahead of him on the list.
So AJ Brown's in the top 5. There's no doubt about that.
But he's above Byard.
Obviously, because I have Kevin Byard number 2. Kevin Byard doesn't disappear in games. Not from what the offense is trying to do. AJ Brown last year.
That's not the question, though.
Well, I get what you're saying there, but AJ Brown was just as likely to disappear from a game than he was from taking over.
That's not the question, though, Austin. You can disappear and then take over a game. This is not the top 5 most consistent Titans. Don't get it misconstrued. I think that you've answered the wrong question today, and that's an issue. This is takeover. You can take over a singular game and then disappear. Wow!
I think I've already stated my
top 5 takeover Titan.
I've already stated my opinion of why Kevin Byard's up there. So I go 1 Henry, 2 Byard, 3 Tannehill, and 4 AJ Brown. Because of you're right, AJ Brown outside of the quarterback and the best running back in the NFL right now going, you have the guy who is the most explosive out of those guys, who's number 4. I just think Kevin Byard does things on an every snap basis that changes the way offenses have to play against the Titans defense.
That's why the list doesn't make sense. We've talked about singular takeover games last season. Ryan Tannehill and A.J. Brown both have more singular takeover games than Kevin Byard did.
That
he can't be above them on the list.
Like the reason why it's hard to have defensive players a part of this conversation is because you can't tell, unless it's like Von Miller or Khalil Mack, who get like 3.5 sacks a game.
Then they
But
would be higher on this list.
Right, but that's where Kevin Byard does
You're
not.
ifs and butting me. Don't do that, right? Talk about production. We all watch
I am
these
talking
games.
about production. Kevin Byard's been one of the most productive safeties in the NFL over the last 3-4 years.
Right. Takeover. Kevin Byard is 4 for me. He can take over a game. The Cleveland Browns game in Cleveland a couple of years ago, that is a complete Byard game. And actually, I give him more credit for a safety taking over a singular game because I know that that is more difficult because you do not touch the ball as much. But as far as the number of takeover games, Tannehill, the quarterback and wide receiver like A.J. Brown, just has the opportunity to do it more. So when I rank my takeover Titans, I want more takeover games.
All right, so Jared says you should have done a top 5 on offense and a top 5 on defense. But then we would have just listed the same guys in the same order. That's the point is we're making this difficult because we're trying to blend them and have a different, deeper conversation. Titans for Life brings up coordinators and about offensive coordinator, which that's an interesting thing here to do, but we're not doing that right now. But so you have Byard.
We're talking about takeover, not effect or consistency. Takeover.
I think Kevin Byard takes over games on a consistent basis, and that's the part. That's what I wish. I wish the general football fan public could get deeper into how he's doing that.
I think he affects games consistently. I don't think he takes – because when you take over a game, Austin, you recognize it. It's different. When you affect a game, I think to your point, you can be numb to what he's doing. But when a player takes over a game in any sport, the word takeover is seen.
Do you think – but Troy Polamalu, I think, is a good example, and Ed Reed, right? Kevin Byard, I'm not saying he's those guys. I'm not
slow your roll.
I wasn't rolling, so chill. But I'm saying Kevin Byard is starting along the path of getting close to what those guys are, because you had to make sure you knew where Polamalu was. You had to make sure you knew where Ed Reed was. They didn't have an interception every game. They didn't have a touchdown every game. They didn't have a sack every game, but they definitely changed and took over the game.
Not took over, they changed, right? The effect. They affected the way that offenses played. They didn't take over the game. Like, I don't know how else to explain that.
Well, and Ethan Ramsey says, I wish Austin came with more stats and examples to back up his opinions, LOL. Again, when you're trying to compare offensive and defensive players, you can't use stats to back that up every time. Because you could say, if you look at a defense's total tackles and you see that the safety is the leading tackler on the football team, that's probably a bad defense, because the safety shouldn't be. The linebacker should. The outside linebacker should. And if Adoree Jackson has 8 tackles in a game, maybe he made 4 tackles really good in run support, maybe. But maybe he allowed 8 catches and had to tackle the player who caught the ball on him.
That's the effect.
That's my point.
Effect. It's not the takeover. The takeover is an act
that's not what I'm talking about.
Exactly.
It's not what I'm talking about. It's not what I'm talking about. That's why I'm saying we can't always use stats on offense and stats versus defense. I wasn't making a point against you. I was responding to Ethan Ramsey.
I know. And what I'm saying, Austin, is if we were talking about the, I don't know, Philadelphia Eagles, then probably we would be using box scores. But Austin, you and I, and the best part is we've been doing the show long enough, is we know Rob, Turner, Lewis, Derek. We got BMO. We know these guys. These guys are with us that comment. And you know what? People that don't comment that are watching the show right now, they watched the Titans. We're not idiots. We watched all of these games. Yeah. We are not using the box score as a crutch. What you're trying to do is define takeover, and that is the act of assuming control. And in this case, it's assuming control of a game.
I think Kevin Byard.
No. Let me finish. Control is the key word. Yeah. It's not effect. It is control. When
I think Kevin
control
Byard does
something,
that.
I tell you where it goes.
I think Kevin
And
Byard
Derrick
does that.
Henry, Ryan Tannehill, and A.J. Brown do that more often than Kevin Byard
I don't
does.
think you can say that factually because we haven't watched the film.
Can't.
I think Kevin Byard can absolutely does control what the offense cannot do. And he takes away things from the offense on an every game basis. And that's why Kevin Byard is so high on my list. Okay, so you have Byard 4. I have A.J. Brown 4. Basically, the only difference in our list so far is that I just have plucked Byard up a couple spots and dropped him in. We've got everybody else in the same order. So who is your number 5? Because I know my 5, and I think it's a pretty good answer. I don't know who your number 5 is.
I went back and forth between two players,
Okay.
both on defense, actually.
So your number 5 is defensive as well,
Yes,
as is mine.
it's Rashaan Evans.
Ooh.
Take over because of tackling. Right? Take over because of tackling. And really what pushed me over the edge for Rashaan Evans is it was an if. We talk about ifs and buts. If Rashaan Evans makes that tackle against Patrick Mahomes with under 2 minutes to play in the first half in the AFC Championship game, that's massive. And Rashaan Evans can control a game, a takeover by we saw him cut through the line on the goal line against New England and other teams of that nature. Rashaan Evans is my number 5 takeover type.
All right, so I love Rashaan Evans, as Rob says, and we've got some good answers about Brett Kern should be number 5.
That's a really good one. And honestly, I will fully admit, Brett Kern, and I apologize, Brett, didn't even cross my mind.
I agree. Brett Kern is a great answer for number 5 because we forget, like Logan Ryan made the pick 6, right, against Tom Brady to shut down the Patriots dynasty. Well, Brett Kern dropped the needle and punted the ball down to the 1-yard line. And so I think Brett Kern absolutely deserves to be in this conversation. Well,
I think, so would you put him in 5 now that you've thought about him? Would he replace the guy you have not said yet?
No.
Then we can have another conversation of the right outside.
Well, it's just because you don't want Brett Kern to be on the field unless he's holding extra points.
Right, but it's a takeover, right?
Yeah.
And that's the word again. That's how I answer this.
All right,
question.
so you went Rashaan Evans number 5. I went with his running mate Jayon Brown number 5.
And I love Jayon.
And I know you do.
Jayon's biggest fan.
And I think the reason, because I had these two neck and neck, because I think Rashaan Evans and Jayon Brown are going to be so fun to watch this year.
That's why you signed Jayon Brown, not Jonnu Smith, if you had a choice.
Okay, well, that's a different conversation. In that conversation, in my opinion, of that situation has nothing to do with.
Why wouldn't you sign the guy that takes over games?
No, I say
Jonnu. You're Jonnu. You Jonnu.
I was talking about replacement. That's my situation. The Titans should sign both of them now. Like, go ahead and do it before they both have incredible.
Jayon is first.
They both do both right now, John.
No, but if you had to pick one, would it be Jayon or Jonnu?
Zach, my point was it's the Titans have Jayon Brown's replacement on the roster. They don't have
Compton.
Yeah, right. We'll talk. No, David Long, who has Compton's old number. David Long is that replacement where they do not have that current replacement for Jonnu Smith. That was my point there. Let's not distract from the overall discussion, though. Jayon Brown, the reason why I edged Jayon Brown in this conversation over Rashaan Evans is because he is way more versatile right now in Evans' career. Because a couple seasons ago, we saw Jayon Brown have like 4.5 sacks. And then he also is really good in coverage. Rashaan Evans, if you're going to poke a hole in Rashaan Evans' game, it is inconsistency in coverage, and that's where Jayon Brown can rush the passer. He can play the run game. He's fantastic at forcing turnovers and then being opportunistic and getting an interception, a fumble recovery, or whatever it might be, and he's really good in man-to-man coverage. And I think Jayon Brown, right there in the middle of the defense, he does everything. Now, I think Rashaan Evans is more forceful in the run game, but I think Jayon Brown has the ability to take over a game more than Rashaan Evans because he's multifaceted in that situation. If the Titans are playing like the goal line situation, the Patriots game and the playoffs, Rashaan Evans and Jeffrey Simmons and Daquan Jones blew up 3 consecutive plays on the goal line that I think allowed the Titans to win that game. Like if it's a running offense, Rashaan Evans is involved. But for everybody else in the NFL, Jayon Brown can absolutely have a massive impact and help take over that game.
And I think what I'm doing is I'm betting on Rashaan Evans. This is his Pro Bowl season. This is his best year. This makes the most sense. First year, he came out at the beginning of the year. He didn't go all in. He wasn't the starter from day one, even though they wanted him to be. Second year, shined like a diamond. And he is this is when you're a first round pick middle linebacker, the next 2 years, those are your money years. And I'm talking about money in two different sides of it. Money as you're playing your best football, and money as you're going to get paid because you are playing your best football. That's why I bet the takeover on the future. And it's kind of like the A.J. Brown thing. I expect more takeovers moving forward. I understand your points on Jayon. I think I believe in Rashawn's year this year.
All right, so who are we missing? So let's touch on this before we move on to Will Compton, because that's going to be a fun conversation. Who are we missing in this conversation? Because there's been a name that neither of us, Zach, has mentioned yet.
Well, 2 names that neither of us has mentioned.
Well, we talked Brett Kern, and we each had Rashaan Evans and Jayon Brown.
2 more names.
So you think we're missing 2 more names. But there's one name that's been commented a bunch that neither of us has mentioned yet. So who are we missing in our list? We're going to I'll go over my top 5. Zach will do the same thing with his top 5. But first, let me tell you guys about Renters Warehouse, the professional landlords in the Nashville area. RentersWarehouse.com is where to go to find out how much your home can rent for. Do not panic sell your house during this pandemic because you think you cannot pay the mortgage. I know that can be stressful, and maybe your income's lower, so your mortgage is eating deeper into that revenue and your income than you're comfortable with. But panic selling your house is not the right move. RentersWarehouse.com can help you out. Continue to build that long-term equity. Get that mailbox money. They can help your family out in a pinch in so many different ways. RentersWarehouse.com is where to go.
A to Z Sports. Don't forget AZ30, 30% off all orders. Shop.azsportsnashville.com. That is until we play football. If you listen and watch the show yesterday, the mayor, John Cooper, basically just pissed all over our dreams yesterday. He's waiting for the vaccine. It's going to be a long time since Nashville gets back. So until then, we're giving you 30% off right there. 30% off all orders, AZ30. I think Louis bought something yesterday. Yeah. More people are jumping on board. Really, we're giving you incentive.
That's right. All right, so who have we missed? My top 5 in this order, and it's been met with disagreement. And that's 1, Derrick Henry, 2, Kevin Byard, 3, Tannehill, 4, A.J. Brown, and 5, Jayon Brown are my 5. Zach, your 5 are?
Do you know them?
Yeah, I was just going to let you say it.
What are they?
1, Derrick Henry, 2, Ryan Tannehill, 3, A.J. Brown, 4, Kevin Byard, 5, Rashaan Evans.
That's a damn good list.
I mean, I'm listening. I'm not just ignoring you when you talk, but I was going to let you list your 5.
Sometimes you do. I mean, we've got, right?
We're multitasking all over the damn place during the show, but I'm listening to you. I've done a really good job of that over the last 4 years we've been doing this. So who are we missing? Tennessee Davis says Harold Landry. Harold Landry was not even on my honorable mention list. Honor Landry. I did not mean to do that, but he's not even on my honorable mention list because, look, he disappeared second half of the year. And Shane Bowen can say that he played him too many snaps and needs to do a better job of managing him and all that. But Harold Landry started to disappear late in the season.
I can't disagree, but that was one of the 2 guys that we didn't mention.
In your opinion?
Yeah. And Kern jumped, right? Because we didn't even think about Kern. Kern is just, and for Titans fans, it's just such a staple. I mean, right? He's the MV punter. That's what we call him because he's so consistently, he helps that team so much that doesn't show up on the box score that Titans fans know because they watch the damn games. And the national analysts like Adam Stank or Cowherd or Nick Wright, all those guys don't know because they don't watch the games. But Jeffrey Simmons is a guy that we haven't mentioned that, I'm high on Rashaan Evans taking a huge jump this year. I'm more curious. I believe that's going to happen to Evans. I am more curious to see what Jeffrey Simmons does. I think he can do that.
And I think,
but I'm also kind of like, maybe he's just like becomes just a defensive lineman. I don't think he's going to do that.
Yeah. If either of us had put Jeffrey Simmons on our list, I feel like that would have been a bit premature. Just because he only played 8 games last year. And he missed the game against the Saints, the same game that Derrick Henry missed, and the Titans still should have won that game. Khalif Raymond got illegally hit, and that fumble happened. It should have gotten the ball back in field goal range for a chance to win that game. But Jeffrey Simmons, we don't have enough game data to show us that we can put him on this list. We do with AJ Brown because AJ Brown played the entire year and got better as the year went on. I think if we do this same list August 27th, 2021, after preseason game number 3 happens, fingers crossed, I think Jeffrey Simmons is on this list. And I don't know who would drop off. Jayon Brown.
Preseason game number 2. We hope they shorten it down.
Fair. I was just using that this is the week for that. But I don't know who would drop off of this list because I think the 5 that we have on it, I don't know. I don't think they're going anywhere. They just put Jayon Brown and Jonnu Smith up on they put Jayon Brown up on the stadium, and we might talk about that, the players that are on the stadium later on. I think Jayon Brown should get a contract extension, but Jeffrey Simmons will be a big-time factor when we have this conversation next summer.
Do you think this is something I do think we need to talk about this maybe next week when it comes to – because I love the marketing side of things.
Right.
Do you think that the marketing team talked to – or they should have. I hope they did. Do you think that they talked to Jon Robinson to ask him about these things, right?
I would love to know.
Because that's important. You don't want to put some guy up on – I mean, how often do they change it?
I mean – I know they had to change it a couple of years ago. I think they change it every year? They kind of have to because 2 years ago they had to change it because of the New Jerseys, right? And what they do, they put up like Arakpo and the guys who they had images of in the New Jerseys and Delaney Walker. So they probably had to change it after that year. And then they had Mariota up there, so they had to change it. Like you're probably gonna have to change it every year. And they've had guys up on the stadium who have been gone after that season. So I don't know.
I would talk to Jon Robinson. Hey man, what are you thinking?
But there's a difference. There's a difference in like Arakpo, who was a named veteran on the team, and Mariota, who is the quarterback, who you feel confident about going into last season. So you put him up on the stadium. And the inside linebacker, who's in his last year of his contract, is a 5th-round draft pick. Like that's not a guy where you're like, oh, we have to have Jayon Brown in the stadium.
But they did.
But they did. They did. But they didn't have to. Like, there's a bunch of options that I put on the stadium, but they put Jayon up there.
Yeah, interesting.
Anybody else we're leaving out? Because I've got 2 names that we haven't. One person mentioned in the comments.
So a name that should be on here that's not, which is a problem, is the 1st-round pick, Adoree Jackson. He's not on here. He should be on here.
But again, I think it's hard.
Cornerbacks, he hasn't shown the productivity to take over, keyword, games. Cornerbacks can take over games. Richard Sherman, Revis Island, there are
but those are like Hall of Fame corners. And
those are takeover guys.
I think Adoree Jackson, and we've seen some Pro Football Focus numbers that support this. Adoree Jackson had a top 10 cornerback season last year.
If Adoree Jackson could return punts, he would be on this list.
Yes, I agree. If he was good at that and wasn't awful at it, then yeah, he would be able to, because you add something else in there, a different dynamic.
You know who else should be on this list?
Who's
Corey
that?
Davis, but he's not because the productivity is not there.
Yeah, I'm okay. Rob is the one who Rob said Lewan can take over. The 2 other guys that I had written down on my sheet to mention in this section is Taylor Lewan and Roger Saffold. Because
not and with. That's your key difference.
No, and now Lewan with Roger Saffold is together. I said and.
But no, those singular guys can't take over games.
I think the way
they have to do it together.
Okay. Like Derrick Henry can't do it without them, right?
They're individuals.
Sure, but I think when you look at what Derrick Henry does, the majority of his big runs and majority of his production is left. And that's because those two guys maul people. And they were like Lewan was mauling people and setting up lanes for Derrick Henry before Roger Saffold. So he is with him too. So I think Lewan first, then Saffold, and especially how they were playing at the end of the year, they were just road grading fools.
If we could combine the two and then muck up the game, well, I think you're absolutely right.
I'm not combining. And Titans for Life says, Zach, Lewan can shut out a dominant pass rusher by himself. So, look, the run game, yes, they work more together on the run game with how their zone scheme is compared to the pass protection of Lewan taking pass steps and having to face off against whoever's coming after him, right? Like that's I think Lewan and then Saffold is probably after that.
Yeah, and I do want to bring this up, and who knows what the future holds of our shows. But Matthew, you're getting the love of the show today. All right, Matthew, he says, glad we're actually talking football this morning. That is the goal of A to Z Sports. Now, sometimes, and we've done this, there are bigger things than sports and bigger things than football. And I think what's going on now in the climate of our country and our world, it should be recognized. And we did that at the top of the show. But the reason why we do this show is to talk about sports, right? Is to argue about how Austin has no sense to put Byard at 2, and he thinks that makes a lot of sense, right? I don't think that makes any sense. That's the goal of A to Z Sports. And sometimes, so Matthew, we appreciate you, and I hope everybody's watching the show today. We're talking ball today, and we're not done. We still got a really good question about Compton that I still don't even know my answer. but we like talking about football and basketball, and sometimes baseball when they screw things up. Hockey at times when the Preds are actually in it. You know. But yes, so Matthew, there's the love of the show. Football time.
All right, let's get to this. Let's get to this topic about and this question about Will Compton that Zach hasn't discovered his answer yet for. So we'll do that. But first, the Tucker Agency. Before we dive into Will Compton being back with the Titans.
Yeah, and this is a big topic. Tucker Agency though can help you out in numerous ways. TuckerTN.com. Right there on your screen, you see it. National's independent insurance agency. Will at TuckerTN.com. I said yesterday, you save 20% when you email Will. That's the average customer. They can save 20%. All you have to do is say, I heard about you on A to Z Sports. I love the show, and I'm interested in seeing how much money I can save on my insurance. You probably don't even know how much you pay on your insurance. If you pay $1,000, quick math, and we usually don't do math on air, but 20% savings, $200. $200 in your pocket, that's big time, right? That's help paying other bills. That's help paying your mortgage that you have if you're a homeowner's insurance. So Will at TuckerTN.com. All you got to do is email him. His team will do the rest of the work and will help you out. That's TuckerTN.com.
All right, A to Z Sports, Will Compton is back with the Titans. And here's the question we're going to dive into. We want you guys to predict. Will the Titans keep or cut Will Compton by week 1?
I think it's a great question.
Will the Titans keep or will they cut Will Compton by week 1? Because the cut day for the entire NFL is Saturday, September 5th, which was supposed to be the big first day of college football. Womp womp. But now it's NFL cut day. Will they keep or cut Will Compton by week 1? Derek?
Extreme. Really happy side of college football. Oh, you just lost your job cut day.
Yes. Keep is Michael and Derek. Matthew saying keep. So far it keeps flying in fast here on the show. Zach, you say you don't know the answer to this. I think this signing makes a lot of sense. And I think this signing by the Titans is really smart. And Derek says he helps the locker room cohesiveness.
So was that the objective? I don't think
No.
that they just signed guys for locker room guys.
That was not the objective. The objective is this is a really strange year, and I think this is the year where you actually prop up a more expensive veteran than a cheaper rookie, because the cheaper rookie or the undrafted free agent that typically has the role that Will Compton serves doesn't know what he's doing right now, because he hasn't had OTAs in April, May, and June, and mini camps and a full training camp. So it's smarter to spend money, a little bit more money, on that veteran minimum for a guy you can plug and play when you get into a pinch. This makes so much sense, and it's a smart move by the Tennessee Titans. Will Compton knows Mike Vrabel's defense very well. He learned it 2 years ago, and he still knows it. That's the player that Will Compton is. He knows every assignment that he has to possibly do, and the guys around him have to do on every situation. And he knows how to play special teams. So that guy is more valuable in 2020 than the cheaper undrafted guy who's more athletic.
So I would only assume, I'm not a NFL general manager, but I would assume that John Robinson, when he makes his cuts on that day, each and every year, he goes through pros and cons of players and where the team is and what the team need is. You just said a lot, right? The pros of Will Compton: experienced, veteran, good locker room guy,
Smart.
knows the defense,
Yeah.
special teams, which Vrabel values quite a bit. And in a year of coronavirus, you need depth, and the depth you need, you need a guy who knows what the hell's going on. Those are pros. Cons: older, aging veteran, right? Has a history of not making it to the season because of injury. That's not his fault. That's
football. That's just one.
It's football though.
Football. Like you're saying, he has a history of getting hurt. Like,
you should hear. And this is I would actually go listen to Pardon My Take when Will Compton was on there. That interview was awesome, and he talked about playing with like basically a wrapped up hamstring, and just to make the roster, that probably saved his career and future opportunity because he played through pain. The Saints, a couple of years ago,
last year
when he got that opportunity, then got another opportunity. This guy, and you have those. He is the career cusp guy, but I give credit to those guys because they keep coming back for more. So that maybe negative turns into a positive. So I will agree with you. Keep, because
I didn't say keep.
Oh, okay.
I haven't answered my question. I haven't answered the question.
Then I will answer it. I say keep because the pros outweigh the cons based on, I would say, two things. Special teams is number one. That's the reason why you keep them. And I think the second reason is depth/experience.
I think
locker room is fine. Locker room is fine.
I think experience and depth and knowing what to do at middle linebacker is number one here, because they signed Nick DeZubner, who was the special teams.
Gone? Who's their big special teamers who's gone?
Darren Bates. And somebody commented about that. Dee Marie, I'll bring up her comment in a second. But they signed Nick DeZubner out of the Chargers last year, right? He was the Darren Bates of the Chargers last season. There's been some talk and some conversation about Nick DeZubner trying to learn how to play inside linebacker with the Titans as well as do special team stuff. Like, they just have to have a lot more people around this year. And maybe this signing shows that Nick DeZubner is not as good at playing inside linebacker as they would prefer. Now, Dee Marie says they could have signed Darren Bates for depth. Darren Bates is more expensive than Will Compton. Darren Bates' contract the last couple of years, the Titans, was more than what Will Compton's would have been. And Darren Bates got signed by the Texans last week, and so he was unavailable for the Titans this week when they're trying to make this move. So I think they do it because Will Compton, and I think this too, I think Will Compton is probably a better, more effective inside linebacker than Darren Bates. So this is, secondly, it's about special teams. First, it's about inside linebacker.
Do you think or agree with anything of Sean's comment?
No. I disagree with it.
Sean says they signed Will to make Lewan happy.
And I think Sean probably is making a joke.
A joke, but no, I think that there's some truth to that. It's not about Lewan happy. I think Compton's well liked. And I think you go back and you interview players maybe in a time of question like the coronavirus, that you go back and you know all the things that we've said, but you also know the added cherry on top is that it will make, well, your highest paid offensive lineman happy, right? It'll probably make the locker room happy. You know, the goon squad's back together. Like there is something, I think, to that. It may be a 1% out of 100%, but I think there's something to it.
Well, it's because they brought in somebody who they trust and who they know. And so that's easier to do in a year like this. Okay, you ready for my answer? Because we're asking, do you think you'll keep or cut Will Compton before week 1? You ready for this? I think in 2020, Will Compton is on the Titans practice squad because the practice squad now has 0 limitations for years accrued. And why they signed Will Compton is because you have your 53-man roster that on the game day weekend can go up to 55. Then you have your 16-man practice squad where you can go back and forth without waiving, right? They need Will Compton around on the practice squad because he's probably not going to be active on a game day unless there's an injury. And so because you're signing him more for middle linebacker than you are special teams. So if you're healthy and you've got Evans, Jayon Brown, and David Long, if you've got those 3, Nick DeZubner or whoever else is your special teams guy, they're active. If one of your top 3 inside backers goes down, now you bring Compton up without having to waive him because of the new rules. Will Compton, I think, is going to be on the Titans practice squad this year.
And that means he's around the team. And
that also means that he's cut by week 1.
Well, yeah, that's true. This is a compliment, not a slash or a slight at him, but he's a vocal tryhard. And you want those guys, right? Yeah. You want those guys to rub off on everybody in practice because vocally he's going to say, get your ass to where your ass needs to be. And when the ball is snapped, he's going to try hard. And there are some people and some players, and this is just how sports work, that have more athletic ability than a 30-plus linebacker, right? That don't have to be vocal or try hard. And so that, I think, is a positive rub-off on the team that you want around.
Yeah, so Ethan Randy says there are no limitations to the practice squad anymore for this year because of the COVID-19 injured reserve type situation. They've waived the accrued seasons for your practice squad limitations. So Will Compton could be on the practice squad where before this year, without COVID, he would not be eligible to be on the practice squad. But they're trying to help teams out, be more flexible, to have 16 members of on your practice squad, and you can have the ability to elevate them on game day morning without having to waive anybody because of something that you can't prepare for.
Yeah.
So that's my prediction. They're going to cut him. September 5th, Will Compton will be cut. And then September 6th or 7th, once they all clear waivers.
If he clears
waivers, fair. I think he will be signed to the Titans practice squad.
Smart prediction. I hope I'm right, but I think that you're probably ahead of the game. Your roster guy.
Roster guy ahead of the game. All right, guys, how about this game? The Magic Bucket's coming up. The BioPure Music City Magic Bucket's coming up, and I've got a surprise for the Magic Bucket.
Well, you should have, if you talk about BioPure, you should have watched our Jonnu Smith, Adam Humphries conversation, and Austin's computer, germ-free, baby.
All the germ. We just zapped all the germs. Just killed all the germs with BioPure yesterday. So let me go ahead and tell you guys about BioPure. BioPure is changing the standard of clean. We were there yesterday. If you missed that demonstration, go to our Facebook page and you can watch it. We actually had a really good conversation about Jonnu Smith and Adam Humphries during that demonstration. But you can see what BioPure Music City is doing with the electrostatic cleaning ways that they have there. You see that sprayer down there in the bottom left of your screen? They sprayed my computer directly with that. which kills 99.9% of germs. And my computer was nasty as hell before they sprayed it, and it made it a lot better. It killed all those germs. It's proven to kill coronavirus and influenza and staph, anything you can think of. BioPure Music City has hospital-grade disinfectant, and it's great for your home or for your place of work or business. BioPure Music City on Facebook. Call them at 615-635-0555.
I believe my graphic of defending the crown is deleted by somebody. I'm defending the crown today.
Oh, my bad.
The Titans, you talked about that throughout the course of the year. Don't delete it. We got to show defending the crown today. We are defending the crown today in Blitz. We play, I believe, let's see here, the Cleveland Browns. Woo! Cleveland's actually high in the division. So
the reason why I deleted
I wish I could show you that graphic now.
Well, the reason why I deleted it is because it said 0-0 record at the top of the screen.
It's still defending the crown. It's a season-long graphic.
Yeah, okay, well, you should
on now.
Well, yeah, because it had 0-0. I was trying to clear out some more graphics, and because it was 0-0, and you're like 10-0 right now.
The jungle. Austin's made this thing the jungle.
Yeah.
It's Wild West in here.
All right, Zach. I have a surprise for the Magic Bucket today, and it also is my week for the sticker, which goes into this. So the Magic Bucket is once again here to embarrass the both of us on a weekly basis every Thursday, brought to you by the great BioPure Music City. You ready for this? You ready for this surprise? I've been waiting on this for like over a month. Over a month, Zach. The Magic Bucket is now BioPure Green. This is the Magic Bucket. We had to start over because we still have the old bucket. It's just inside of there. But the Magic Bucket was full of stickers, so we had to get a new bucket. And now, thanks to BioPure Music City, who has sponsored the Magic Bucket segment, we had to get more inventory for the stickers. We were running out of sticker space, and this is a bigger bucket, Zach. So now we got a lot more sticker space to move forward in year number 2 of the Magic Bucket, because we started the Magic Bucket 1 year ago when the season started. So the Magic Bucket is 1 year old, and now we got a new bucket, and BioPure Music City's right there on there, and we've got more sticker real estate.
Is that your sticker, or you have a new sticker?
That's my sticker right there.
That's 2 BioPure stickers. Like, I don't hate on BioPure. That's free sticker real estate. You have any more ordered?
No, I have to order more. I've been waiting on this damn bucket to get here.
And stickers. I love the bucket though.
At one point, Amazon.
I think you took the easy way out. Look, I love BioPure. They're a great sponsor on the show. We were there yesterday. I think you took an easy route out on your stickers.
No, I didn't. This was
not true to the sticker.
I was planning on doing this 3 weeks ago when the bucket was supposed to arrive August 2nd, and then Amazon lost it.
I want a BioPure sticker. Send a BioPure sticker my way so I can use it. Where are you getting all these BioPure stickers? At
BioPure. I got it from the same place we were at yesterday.
I need some BioPure stickers.
Oh my goodness. All right. I think it looks great. It's a great bucket. All right, who am I pulling for?
You're pulling for me if you know anything about the Magic Bucket, which I don't think you do.
This is the most mathematical crazy Magic Bucket, because I pulled again for you, Elton John.
Probably picking in for size. I don't know why.
No, I'm not. All right. So now this is for Zach. Name a blank amount of blank in 15 seconds. I just dumped the bucket and all over my life.
I love this one. I'll get away. I'll get away with this. That's great.
Oh, crap. Now I got the Magic Bucket spilled all over me. I got to clean it up. It fell on me. Okay, so Zach, name a blank amount of blank in 15 seconds.
This is actually the most enjoyable Magic Bucket.
I also think it's very fun.
And out of 40 something, I don't know how we got that.
Yeah, because that one stays in the bucket every time. So I'm bringing up. Dang it! I'm trying to find my stopwatch. I've got the stopwatch to time you, ready to go here. So because I'm looking around at my office, I have a pretty badass cardboard cutout of Michael Jordan from like 1993 Gatorade ad. So here's Zach. I'm going to ask you. You ready? Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Name as many. Hold on. Name as many Michael Jordan Bulls teammates as you can in 15 seconds. Ready, go.
Will Purdue, Luke Longley, Bill Winnington, Dennis Rodman, Scottie Pippen, Steve Kerr, Ron Harper off the bench. I've already said Luke Longley.
Stop.
Shoot.
You got 7. I thought you got 5 in 6 seconds. And then you only got 2 in the remaining 9 seconds.
BJ Armstrong, I should have gotten.
I thought Scotty Burrell was going to be an obvious one.
No, I don't think of Last Dance. I think of the actual team.
Yeah, but just because The Last Dance is fresh on my mind still.
Right. God, I probably only had about 5 more that I could have gotten.
Well, I thought that was a fun one.
That was good.
Super random, but I thought
I did. I came out hot and then I sputtered.
Yeah, you had 5 in the first 6 seconds, and then you could only get Ron Harper and Steve Kerr after that. All right, so this one is for me. Okay. Hopefully the magic bucket isn't following me again. Ah, damn it. This is from my wife.
Oh, so I don't know how bad it is.
It's I have to have her bring something home from work. And I'm going to have to make sure.
What do you have to do?
I have to hula hoop live on tomorrow's morning show.
That's not that bad.
I have you hula hooped recently?
Yeah, there's a lot worse than that in that bucket.
I know, but it's just going to be, I'm sure, but it's just going to be weird as hell. And I'm going to have to hula hoop tomorrow morning on the show. And so
I guess if I ever pick that, I'm going to have to borrow a hula hoop because I don't have a hula hoop.
That's why it's on the next day's show, so we can prepare for the hula hoop. So there we go. You've got a reason to watch the show tomorrow. I've got a hula hoop and see how this works.
Is that how you start the show?
I mean, that's typically what we do. We typically start the show with what we have to do from the previous show. So, all right. There's the BioPure Music City Magic bucket.
All right. That wasn't too bad. Again, I know some of the things that are in there. They're not good.
And we're not live on location tomorrow, so I'll have to figure out how to do this where I'm at.
And you're right, Ethan. We will find out if Austin's hips lie or do they tell the truth. We do know that he needs to go online and order some stickers because he's copped out quite a bit.
I do. So thanks to BioPure Music City for the Magic Bucket. Real quick before we head out of here, Bone and Joint Institute of Tennessee. Don't fumble on your recovery. boneandjointtn.org is where to go. They're the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine coverage here in the area. Check them out. They do fantastic work. More doc talk will come up soon in the next couple of weeks. That'll be a fun segment throughout the year with Doc Talk, talking about injuries that happen in the sport of football. boneandjointtn.org. So thanks to them. As always, Zach, good show. Good discussion here on the Titans Thursday. And I'll make sure I get that hula hoop for tomorrow morning.
There you go. Blitz 2001, Browns. Look for it.
All right. See you guys later.
Adios.